In my last video, I spent a week cramming an online motorcycle course that essentially proved that I have no idea what I'm doing riding a motorcycle. Somehow, after 15 years of riding, I had amassed this giant list of terrible habits that I didn't even know were unsafe. I wanted to take this course to get rid of all of these old habits that I had created and lay a new foundation of how to ride a motorcycle so that I could keep doing this stuff that I absolutely love for years to come. I have no plans on stopping doing this. And in today's video, I'm going to throw myself into the deep end of that goal because I am going to be attending one of the most advanced motorcycle schools in the country, and I just have one day to prove I belong here. My friends, welcome to Champ School. Now, if you guys have never heard of Champ School before, it's a 2-day in-person course taught by professional racers. These are guys that very clearly know how to ride fast and ride safe, and it's essentially the in-person version of the online course that I took in the last episode. Now, the in-person school is all about applying their lessons at full speed on a track, coached by some of the best guys in the industry. But thanks to my absolutely stellar scheduling skills, I missed the entire first day. So I am a very plan and production oriented person. That is the only reason as many videos comes out on this channel. And somehow, with having a 4-month-old at the house and having an absolutely insane schedule right now, I thought Champ School was on a Thursday and Friday. Today's Thursday. Turns out, Champ School is on Wednesday and Thursday. This was iterated multiple times in emails and communications, and somehow, some way, I found a way to put the wrong dates in my calendar. So, I had no way of getting up there yesterday. And I messaged them and I was like,
hey, I totally understand this, but am I even able to show up for day 2?
Because they got a program. They got stuff. They have a certain way of doing things, and obviously they are doing it right. So I'm pissed at myself that I'm not going to be able to do that, but they were awesome, and they were like, you know what? Show up for day 2. We're going to figure it out. We'll find a way to get you through this program. I have wanted to do this Champ School for like 4 years. I have been trying to do this. For this to be such a big deal thing, and then I put it in my freaking calendar wrong! So I'm gonna drive to Road Atlanta now. Got my MT-10 behind me, and today is gonna be a phenomenal day. So day 2 started in a classroom session, and since we were going to be filming this video, I was sitting in the back with Patrick to make sure we had the right shots for filming this video. I don't want to interrupt people talking to him or something like that. And the literal first thing that happened on this day took me straight back to middle school. So I wasn't there for the first day, and I didn't realize that there were assigned seats with booklets with your name on them and name tags. I want you guys to guess where my booklet and my name tag was. Yeah, dead middle, very front, right in front of the teachers. Sick. At this point, the instructors dove right back into their lesson plan that they probably left off with from day 1, and immediately I noticed how much different the in-person course was gonna be as compared to the online course. This wasn't more of a lecture situation where they're just at the front telling us this stuff and everybody's making their little notes. It was more of a conversation where they would discuss a topic, tell you all about it, what it is, and how to implement it, and then students could ask questions based off what they just said to get more clarity, and they could literally use their dry erase board and explain the topics and dive deep into exactly what the students were asking for. It's way more thorough than the online course could literally ever be. So that really kind of like set the tone for what my day was going to entail, especially after just coming off of the online course. So after scribbling down as many golden nuggets as I possibly could, we were headed out for the first track session, but we weren't going to be on the bikes just yet. So our first experience on the track was actually in a van. And I know that's not going to sound as exciting as you want it to, but it was golden. So they cram us all into like 15-person passenger vans, and we start doing laps around the track, and the van is being driven by one of the instructors. So he's able to drive us around on the preferred line at Road Atlanta, and he's able to give us tips and hints on like, when you're at this spot, you're looking here and you need to be hitting this place and this is how you exit. He's going over every little detail of how to navigate the track. Now, I've ridden Road Atlanta before with an Aprilia track day, but having a pro walk you through step by step, corner by corner, how to navigate this pretty technical track was absolutely mind-blowing.
Exit style corner, slowest point is going to be before the apex. So we want to be slowed here and then reset our hand back to the throttle, driving it past this apex using all the racetrack.
So do not look down on the van laps. They are absolute gold. Now, the second classroom session of the day, and most of the other sessions as well in classrooms, were much shorter than that first session. The first session, I think it lasted around an hour to an hour and a half. This session only lasted about 20 minutes. So in this session, just like the rest of the sessions of the day, they cover one or two of the core concepts of the curriculum, and then they quickly send you out for a 20-minute session on the track. This whole 20-minute session of classroom, then 20-minute session on track was really helpful to help you focus in on what you were about to do on the track. So you would only have one or two things for you to really have in the front of your mind that you could focus on in that next track session. Now that I was freshly armed with almost 2 hours of classroom tactics, I was itching to get out on my bike and start trying out all these cool tactics that I have been hearing about by these professional riders. Now, the first track session for us was pretty chill, which was lead follow with the instructor. So they would be leading groups of us around the track and showing us good lines, but I quickly realized something. I guess because I was so excited to get on the track at this point, I literally started working on everything all at once and quickly realized that I am not capable of doing that. I would be setting up my body position and I would forget my brake pressure, or I would start rotating my hands and trying to get them in the right position, and then I would totally forget to load the front tire. After this first track session, I really realized that I needed to only be focusing on one or two aspects of my riding per session, because I was not making any progress by trying to fix everything all at one time. So classroom session 3 ended up being one of the most important sessions, at least for me personally, of the entire day. The instructors ended up doing a deep dive and giving us an explanation on the types of corners that are on different tracks, both entrance corners and exit corners, and how to handle each one. Now, I've never been one of those people that's good in a classroom environment asking good questions, but luckily, some of the other students did such a good job with asking awesome questions, and it led the instructors to giving us a detailed breakdown of how to handle turns 6 and 7, which are at Road Atlanta, the two hardest turns to manage and nail on the entire track. Spoiler alert, turn 7 is a turn that later in the video, an instructor will tell me, and I quote, "You looked really sketchy there."
All right, guys, we're about to do the second, I guess, round on the track. The first one, I think everybody was just practicing on their individual things. I'm really trying to work on this whole trail braking into a turn, and I'm not great at it, but I think those guys are just testing. Okay, I gotta go. Pointy end of the cone. I'll talk about it, talk to Cameron later, bye.
So track session 2, we focused on a drill called pointy end of the cone. Guys, this drill is evil. And I mean that in the best way possible. So here's how this drill works. All the instructors go out on the track and they all have just a little orange cone. And what they do is they angle the cone, and you as the rider have to go on the pointy end of that cone. So if this is a turn, right, like right here, the cone could be here right at the apex of the turn, and you have to go on the inside of the cone on the pointy end. The next lap, the instructor could have rotated the cone the other way and pushed it to the outside of the track. So now you have to go to the outside because that's where the pointy end is. they are changing these cones every single lap. Now, this doesn't sound like a big deal. It's like, oh, you just look for the cone and go where it's supposed to go. But these instructors are putting these cones in the most random spots. They're not moving it from like here to right here. They're moving it from like hard inside to all the way outside. And what this drill is supposed to help you do is keep your eyes from what's right in front of you to looking up. And this drill of the entire day was the most important drill I did, bar none. Wasn't even close. I did not realize that one of the major issues I have when I ride is my eyes are not focused up and what's coming at me. My eyes were kept getting focused down what was right in front of me. And the problem with that is you don't have the time to react, especially the faster you get going, the faster things start coming at you. So if your eyes aren't up, you can't position yourself to where you need to be. Bro, my first couple laps on pointy end of the cone, they were bad. I almost nailed so many cones because I was focused down here. I was not focused up here. Slowly, lap after lap, I start realizing, bro, if you are gonna position yourself to where you need to be for that cone, you gotta be looking here. You can't be looking down here, because if you're looking down here, by the time you get to the cone, you're screwed, dude. You gotta set stuff up. This drill was literally worth going to the school alone. I literally told the guys, the instructors, after that track session, I was like, I did not realize how bad I was at looking down until I did this. I thought I was pretty quick. I thought I was doing a pretty decent job of getting around the track relatively quickly. I had no idea I was looking down here until I did that. Pointing into the cone, I love. I'm totally here for. But the first time you do it, holy crap. Get ready. So for classroom session 4 back inside, the instructors started off that classroom session with really emphasizing how important pointy end of the cone is, and they explained that they actually brought that drill to both days 1 and 2 of this 2-day school because of how important it is.
We really like that drill. We got enough good feedback that we brought it to day 1 as well. So I'm glad we could do that again.
It really shines a light on you as a rider riding reactively and how you need to be riding dynamically. So this was a track environment, but on the street, it's even more important to be keeping your eyes up and watching for things so you can avoid them and not have to react to them when they happen. So obviously this is a super important drill. So after we got done really diving into the pointy end of the cone stuff, we moved into something they called vital points, which are basically the most important turns on the entire track, and every track has different ones, obviously. So for Road Atlanta, those were turns 5, turn 7, shocker, and turn 12. So these vital points are either there for preserving your momentum or setting you up correctly for a long straight, and nailing these is and should be your main priority if you want to get faster lap times. So that was pretty cool. Now, track session 3 was the one that mattered. This was the instructor follow session, and the way it worked is a student would go from the start line, and then an instructor would follow them. That instructor's bike had an action camera on the front of the bike, and this footage would be used later in the day to really diagnose and see all the little details of where the student could improve. The thing I didn't realize is the instructor was not just following the student. The instructor, because they're the instructor, they were riding the correct line through Road Atlanta. So the farther off the student was from being directly in front of the instructor, the farther off you were from the correct line. And as you can see from my footage, I have a lot of work to do at Road Atlanta. So after this track session, it was lunchtime, which is pretty cool. Lunch is entirely provided as part of the course. So that was a really cool opportunity to sit with other riders and kind of talk with them and see what drills they are really attaching to or what things they need to work on. It makes you feel like you're not the only guy just like really trying to figure out a lot of stuff. So that was really cool. Now, after lunch, it was time for classroom session 5, which ended up being one of the most important and longest classroom sessions of the entire day. I think it lasted just almost 2 hours. But this classroom session, the instructors took all of that GoPro footage. They didn't lose any, by the way, so good job. And they were gonna go rider by rider, put the follow laps up on a big screen, and diagnose every rider's everything. I was actually surprised that I was getting so much information from watching other guys getting diagnosed. I thought it would just be like, oh cool, I see that guy riding. But seeing a guy ride and then something get picked out, I'm like,
oh crap, I do that too.
Obviously I knew my video was coming up too, but I ended up learning so much watching other people's critiques. I was shocked by that. So this is probably karma and I deserve every bit of it, but I ended up being the last guy to get reviewed of the entire day, so my emotions were at an absolute peak at this point after I had watched all the other critiques. But my video came up on the screen, I saw the gold MT10 and everything, and I was like, all right, this is my moment. I really get to find out how much I have to work on, and there's no hiding anything in this video, as you're about to find out.
Can I just throw in our foot at that shift? Are you mad at that or something? Yeah, a little late. I think our butt moved late, so the turn-in had to happen late. It's just a little too hard acceleration right here. We asked for too much throttle, so that radius opened up. Everything's looking pretty good, but then we go to 20 points of throttle, burp, and then the rear squats, and that's what pushed us off our apex. And I think you can start your downshifts earlier. So rolling off to the brakes, never sitting in the center, and then trying to rotate our hands to allow some more upper body. That's gonna have us be smoother with our application, and with more weight to the inside, bike should steer better with less lean angle.
Love it. Awesome.
Good?
Thank you so
Nice,
much.
Chase. Yeah, glad you made it, man.
Now, after I had been judged to hell, it was time for track session 4. And at this point in the day, I was really starting to get a grasp on how to handle these track sessions. I needed to pick a few things and really just focus on those things for the entire session. Don't let my brain wander, but only focus. In this track session, I decided I needed to work on 3 things. I needed to get my elbows out, I needed to get my body positioned in the direction I wanted the bike to go, and my big one, I needed to get my body positioned before the corner, not right into the corner. These were the things I was really gonna focus on in this session. So this session started out pretty strong. I felt good about only focusing on a few things, and after a few laps in, I was really starting to get a feel for like making sure my elbow's out and all that kind of stuff. Little did I know, one of the instructors, Anthony, had been following me for like 2 or 3 laps, and he was watching everything I was doing. About 3 to 5 laps in, he ends up passing me on a Super Hooligan bike, no less. And if you guys don't know what Super Hooligan is, it's a whole race class where it's basically racing on naked bikes. So no wind protection, the bikes look crazy. And after he passed me, he was able to like kind of guide me on what lines I needed to be on. It was super helpful to follow an instructor because it would remind me when I saw him scoot his butt to the right side when we were coming up to a right turn. That sparks a thing in my head of like, oh right, get the body position in ahead of the turn. So that was super important, being able to follow an instructor who was also on a motorcycle, who was dealing with the stuff I was, because, on a naked bike on Road Atlanta, I was getting up to like 140, 145 on that back straight. So even if you have a race suit, I have my SuperTech R10, that thing cuts through the wind fantastic, but you still got a lot of wind you're dealing with. So he was having to deal with the same amount of wind, and that was really helpful because I'm like, he's dealing with the same stuff I am. He's on a naked style motorcycle, so I'm on a naked style motorcycle, so it's a lot more even, and that was super freaking helpful. Huge shout out to Anthony. I'll have his social stuff in the description. Could not thank that guy enough. So classroom session 5 ended up being a pretty chill situation. It ended up being less of a classroom, but more of an open conversation for the instructors to answer any questions that some of the students had. That ended up being a really chill session that was really nice after all the intense sessions earlier in the day. So for track session 5, which is going to be your last track session of the day, the instructors told us the last lap we would end up doing is what Champ School calls your champion's lap. You're supposed to put all of the things you've learned that day into into one solid, every corner perfect, or as perfect as you can, lap. But before we got to that, we got to get creative. And by we, I mean the instructors with the bullshit they were throwing at us. So we're leading up to this champions lap where we're supposed to do everything perfect. But before that, they throw total chaos and make you do all of these random drills. The first drill I had to do was I had to go through the entire lap with only my rear brake. And guys, Road Atlanta gets quick, so you are really having to judge how fast you're letting yourself get up to because you can only use the rear brake. The next lap I had to do, I had to ride as if I had broken off the left side of my handlebar and my arm is just sitting here dangling. Now, I thought these drills were gonna be ridiculous, and they are. But one of the drills ended up being super helpful for me and gave me an eye-opening moment. So one of the drills I had to do was they told you to do a lap and sit all the way back in your seat.
Move all the way back in the seat and ride the bike like that. Beautiful bike, by the way. Appreciate it.
Now, just for some context, throughout the day, there were a couple spots in the track where I was having a really hard time getting in the right body position that I needed to be doing on the track. I just couldn't figure out how I needed to be sitting on my MT10. And then I do this lap and I'm sitting all the way in the back of my MT10 seat, and suddenly I'm able to get my legs where I need them to. I'm able to hold the tank better than I was the entire rest of the day, which is something I was struggling on. And it was in that moment where when you get put into these weird drills and you're on a track, so you're in a safe environment to really play around and test it out, some of these drills are going to unlock something in you that makes you realize you can do things in an entirely different way, and you wouldn't have done it had you not had to do an entire lap in this kind of ridiculous situation and format. And for a track environment, sitting all the way back in the MT10 was the golden key that I really wish I would have learned earlier, because I'd have had so much more time to practice with that better body position. After all these drills, it was finally time. It was time to put everything I had learned, all of the online course, all of that day's information, and put it into one lap. It was time for my Champions Lap. Guys, throughout the entire day, I had really been pushing myself. I was really trying to work on all these bad habits that I had. I was trying to absorb as much as I could. I was trying to listen to the feedback and really put that into the motorcycle. And if I'm going to be honest, I was feeling really overwhelmed and started second guessing myself a lot of the day. But something about this last lap, which ended up being the fastest lap I did the entire time I was at this class in school, it also felt the chillest. For the first time riding a motorcycle on the track, I felt in total control of everything that was going on that bike. And that is a very weird feeling for somebody that's been riding for 15 years to have never felt like that. I think it's at that point that I really understood what this school was all about. It wasn't about being faster. It wasn't about looking cool at a track day. It was literally about understanding how your motorcycle wants to be ridden and riding it in the way the engineers designed the bike to be ridden. So guys, after the final track session, we headed into the classroom for not another lecture, but to graduate. One by one, each student got called up to the front. We got a plaque, we got a little bag of goodies, and the thing I ended up getting most excited for was a Champ U t-shirt that you cannot buy. The only way to get this shirt is by graduating the course. And I graduated, as you can see by my shirt. And check it out, my little plaque. How cool is that? It's got my name on it and everything. This is awesome. I'm gonna have to put this in the garage somewhere. Now guys, I'm gonna be honest, this might seem like a t-shirt, but after the way this whole thing had started with doing the online course and just really realizing how much I was messing up and didn't know, and missing the whole first day of champ school, like, it had been a long road to get to where I was, and I'm sitting there holding my plaque and I got my shirt, and I'm like, I felt pretty proud. You know what I mean? It would have been a long situation. I'd been wanting to do this for a long time, and I'm sitting there like, holy crap, I did it. That's awesome. But guys, more importantly than walking away with just a little piece of fabric, I was walking away from this school with a brand new foundation of how to ride. And yes, I can confidently ride faster now, no doubt about that. But I can now confidently ride safer, which is gonna allow me to ride longer and really enjoy this sport for way into the future than I would have ever been able to if I would have kept up with the way I was riding beforehand. So yeah, guys, if you guys are thinking about doing Champ School or their Champ U online course, obviously I highly recommend it. Especially if you're a brand new rider, building this foundation, you are gonna become such a better rider, so much faster than I did. But if you're a 15-year rider like me and you're thinking you know everything, you go do Champ School. You will be a different rider when you get done, I promise. Now, I want to hear from you guys. What is the worst habit you have while you ride? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you've taken a school that really helped you out, let me know in the comments, because dude, I'm all about learning more and more and more, and any schools I can take, and you know, realistically with time, I definitely want to try. So let me know in the comments down below. But right now I can fully vouch for Champ School and Champ U. And hey, if you got to this point in the video, guys, make sure to hit that like button and share this video out with somebody that really needs to work on some of their riding technique. I'm Chaseontwowheels. You guys go out there and ride safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.